Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining us during our World of Railways exhibition, virtual exhibition that is, part 2. For this little segment, I'm joined with Keith and Michael Revell of KR Models. Thank you both, guys, for joining us. Contrary to what you might believe, Keith isn't actually sat on a beach in the moment. He's in Canada, what's the weather like out there at the moment, Keith? Is it a bit fresh?
Yeah, right now we're sat at a. Actually, it's quite warm for like this part of the year, kind of Halloween. Right now, we're just sat at a -3.
Oh, only -3.
We're supposed to get up yeah, only -3. Yeah, I mean, normally it's a lot colder and there's a lot more snow on the ground. But we had a little bit of snow earlier on this week, but the temperature's warmed up and it's gone. So, yeah, I think end of next week, come back then, and yeah, we'll have about a foot of snow.
Well, it's certainly not great weather here where I'm sat in Lincolnshire. But weather aside, let's get to the nitty-gritty stuff of model making. So, Keith, your first model, obviously GT3. Can you give us a bit of an update about it, please?
Yeah, right now. We're looking to get it into people's hands before Christmas. There's still kind of logistical issues we have to overcome with regards to the lack of capacity on the container ships right now because of COVID. Bless them. So at the end of the day, yeah, we're working towards getting it into people's hands as soon as we can physically do it. So yeah, I mean, assembly should be done by the end of November at the earliest. So right now, yeah, we're hoping to get it into people's hands before Christmas. That is our goal right now, which is still within 2 years of when we did it.
One of the things that I'd like to ask you is that, given that you are newcomers to the model railway manufacturing industry, do you feel an increased sense of pressure to get your first model right?
If your figurehead is going to be your first model, then that's what you are going to be judged on, clearly. I mean, when we initially launched Worley in 2018, so we're just coming up to our 2nd anniversary for actually being out there in the the melee of model making, then yeah, I mean, it's ultimately critical, because if you bring out an inferior product, then clearly you're going to be judged on that, and ultimate sales thereafter are seriously going to be damaged. So no, I mean, I mean, that's not why we've had delays. I mean, yes, we've had a few issues with the samples that we've had through with the GT3, but that being said, it's all part of the development of any model. We're not the only manufacturer that goes through this whole process. You get your samples, you see what's wrong, you do track testing, you then iron out all those bugs, so you produce and sell the best model possible. Because that was my whole goal when I introduced the GT3, was the fact that what was out there previously, I wouldn't have bought. I did buy just for evaluation purposes, discovered it was far too problematic for me as a non-skilled kind of hands-on scratch builder, which ultimately is what was out there. So yeah, I mean, the GT3 is looking fabulous. We are, because of COVID, we've had a few issues with paint. Some of our suppliers have been struggling to get their ingredients to do what they need to do. So the whole supply chain has been severely affected by COVID, and we're not the only company, not even industry, that has been affected. And it's not just kind of general day-to-day living; it's everything that's factored into it. So. But bear in mind, I mean, even if we bring this out before March of next year, it's still going to be within the 2 years that we first started taking payments and actually started developing the thing, which, as far as I'm concerned, is an unprecedented industry standard to follow.
One of the other models that you've chosen is the Fell Diesel, and you've not made life easier for yourselves with these prototypes. You know, I mean, that is a complicated design in itself. Just talk us through how you've developed the model.
Well, yeah, I mean, the development of it is actually a lot easier than excuse me, than you think. The hard part was getting the relevant detail for the tooling with regards to the body, because and we've had a few questions on this on the forums and on the chat rooms and everything. So that's the one side. That's the other side. It's not symmetrical.
Mm.
It's weird. It is literally the weirdest model you could ever produce. You know, because I mean, you look at most models, and if you look at the grills on the left and the right side, they match. Right. On the Fell, they don't. I mean, you know, there's a silencer on that side. There isn't on that side.
Mm.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
No, there are challenges with this thing. And you know, we've done a lot of head scratching and got a lot of splinters through actually kind of developing, you know, the whole process. The gearing runs beautifully. It runs around the track pretty well. There's a few very, very minor issues that we have to figure out on it. But other than that, yeah, I mean, and like we made the announcement as well, the actual conrods are in 3 sections. Hang on, there you go, 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. So that stops a lot of the binding, which I think was an issue that was brought up on the forums, that how can you have conrods that long? Have you seen some of the conrods that's out there? I mean, I've got a Cock of the North, which is that's also a 4-axled steam locomotive, and it's way longer than that. And that was what Hornby did a couple of years ago. This
is a running sample, I must add, for viewers that are watching this. The Fell that you've just shown to camera there, I've seen a video of this running on a test track. What's performance like? What's initial feedback been like from that sample?
So far, pretty good. We've got good traction with it. It gets around the second radius curves, because we've got a test track now in the office. You've got to put it under weight. You've got to put something behind it. You can't just run it on its own, because there's no strain on it. So yeah, you need to run that round. And yeah, so far it's running good. Like I say, there's a few minor issues we have to figure out, but other than that,
very unusual prototype, as obviously with GT3, and having the 6 engines for DCC sound, that's going to be quite some feat to get all of that, sounding, sort of as it would have done. How do you go about researching the sound that would have made?
Well, I mean, the Paxman main power unit, there's 4 of those. So there is actually very, very minor footage of the Fell running and what it sounds like. So that's kind of a good barometer of how it all takes shape. But it is literally a guessing game, because you have to be mindful of the operation. You also have to figure out, well, okay, we've got the Paxman diesel. What does it sound like when we get it up to speed? So those are in the archives anyway. That's relatively easy. The 2 AEC auxiliary units, they basically kick in and out as and when required, because one powered hydraulics and the other one powered electrics. It was a glorified generator, so that's relatively easy. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to work that out. So, but yeah, I mean, we've left it to a professional to figure out, and so that's the easy part for that side of it, definitely.
2 other recent announcements that you've made, locomotive-wise, are Bullide Leader and the Clayton DHP1.
The DHP1, we are literally ready for tooling on that. All the CAD work's done. That's basically where we're at. I mean, that's a 3D printed body shell. We are literally ready for tooling with that. It would complement anyone who's got an industrial layout, because that's what it was designed for. So you're looking along the same lines as your Class 15 and your Class 17, which are also Clayton models. So yeah, I mean, take-up's been slower than we would have liked. So we're not quite at that magic figure yet where we can send out the email and go, yeah, guys, let's make this happen. The leader, however, is a completely different ballgame. That has far exceeded our expectations with where we were going with the leader. It's been, we get constant emails of, hey, when you're doing the order book. Because of COVID, access to getting the plans have been a challenge. However, that being said, we are going into design process on that at the end of this month. So they should be ready early part of 2021. And then we can then work out, develop, delivery schedules and everything else that goes with that funky process.
One of the departures that we've seen from KR models away from sort of locomotives for a little brief bit is onto a wagon, a concert iron ore wagon. Tell us a little bit about the project. Why this iron ore wagon? And I know some people on RM Web, when you posted some images, have spotted a few detail variations that might need to be rectified. Is this something that you're looking to do before it goes into tooling? Will you have that time to be able to change it?
Actually, we had plenty of time to fix any errors that we had in the CAD drawings to begin with. Like, tooling had quite literally only just started when we made the announcement, which is when we thought we were comfortable announcing it, because the drawings that we had were very thorough, very detailed, and we thought we'd covered all the bases when it came to said details. Obviously, we were wrong. There were certain parts that we'd missed, little bits here and there. But since they've been pointed out to us, yes, they have been fixed, they have been rectified. Tooling has resumed since then. As I've said in the past all over RM Web, we do listen to people who phone call us, email us, post at us. Everyone gets listened to. So the criticism was justified. Some people maybe went a bit too far, but that happens everywhere, so we can handle that. But yeah, why we did the concert was we thought there was a bit of a hole in the market when it came to wagons of that nature. So we thought, well, why not? Why not do the concert,
So this is something that could be hauled by something like a 9F or equally a Class 24 post-steam era. Do you see yourselves as becoming something of a specialist in perhaps niche prototypes, or maybe like the concert iron ore wagon, a location-specific model, or do you see perhaps in the future possibilities for venturing out into to other scales, perhaps even, or different, more mainstream prototypes?
I think for oddball prototypes, I don't think that's what we intended to start our reputation with, but I think that's definitely what it's evolved into as time's gone on, especially more with the Fell, and we did have plans to do the Hush Hush as well.
Right.
So I don't think we're going down any particular route in terms of what locomotives and wagons we choose. It's more so if people want it and we get enough support for it, then why not? If people want it, they can have it.
We've been getting a lot of interest with regards to, are you going to do the turbo motive? Well, that's just a modified steam locomotive. Why would we want to do that? Yeah, I know there's a potential demand for it, but that's already been the main pre-modified version. That has already been done by one of the previous big manufacturers anyway. It wouldn't take a whole lot for them to modify their existing tooling to accommodate a turbo motive. So for us to go down that path, that's the kind of things that we look at when we are evaluating a potential new model, is its viability and how close to the mainstream are we actually doing that. I mean, we've had a few suggestions I'll give you an example, like the Class 31. The tooling on that is so old and it's so inaccurate. Yes, that does need to be done. Are we the company to do it? I don't know. It's you have to, it is an evaluation process where you have to look at whose toes are you going to tread on by bringing out a particular model. We've taken a lot of criticism with regards to the way that we've structured our business model, but I'm not in the habit of going into business suicide. You can't commit to a model if it's not going to sell. So I'm sorry if people take umbrage at the fact that, you know, oh, well, why are you asking for so many details with regards to the expression of interest? It gives us a barometer as to whether we should need to pursue it. The most investment we've done on any kind of pre-launch, pre-payment model is the CAD work. The Concert All Wagon's a bit of a different story because we got such an overwhelming interest with regards to emails before we even kind of announced we were going to do it. When we put out an email saying, hey, you know, anybody got any ideas, you know, of what we should do? We did a Facebook post and we got flooded with emails and suggestions like, hey, do the concert. So we're doing the concert.
So just a question to you, Keith. How do you see KR models maybe in 5 years' time? Are you quite keen to keep the sort of concern manageable on number of projects and the size of the team, or is this something that you'd like to see grow and maybe, you know, get into more different niche scales and that way?
The difference in scales is down to customer demand. I mean, the GT3 and the FEL are both available in different scales on the expression of interest pages. The take-up has been pretty slow. We know the history in the end scaling industry with regards to a previous manufacturer. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of tarnished the side of that. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think they deserve just as much chance and opportunity to get our models in their scale as possible. I'd love to bring out a GT3 in O gauge, I really would, because it'll look fantastic. You know, I mean, that chugging around your O gauge track, oh, fantastic! Yes, I would love to see that. But take up, when we announced that we would do an O gauge, it was minimal. It was enthusiastic, but it was minimal. For the FEL right now is the only one that we're taking money on. So the installment plan on that we're going to close towards Christmas. You can still order it at full price. It's going to be slightly more because certain things have increased. So there will be a price increase for the FEL on its overall costings. But right now, yeah, we're still in a position where costs have been met because we've agreed costings prior to COVID.
Keith, Mike, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And if anybody else would like to check out the models that have been announced from KR Models and also stay up to date with the developments of them, check out the website. Keith, Mike, thank you very much for your time. Take care now.
You're very welcome.